I was not prepared for this level of coolness. Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today we are checking out Wild Serengeti. Look at this. This is a full appreciation of how glorious animals are because look at this front cover. Now this is a pre-Kickstarter copy, which means it is a prototype, so bear in mind things may change, and also I will pop the links to the Kickstarter itself in the description below, so make sure you check those out. But what is it? Well, it's a game about getting that perfect shot, and we're going to unbox, take a look and see what those components are, what we can expect from it, and give you an idea of how it plays in this first look today. Serengeti is basically a game where you're going to film wild animals to produce your own wildlife documentary. Now it plays between 1 and 4 players and takes about 45 minutes to play for ages 14 plus. So first up is the giant white bag that rattles quite a lot. It looks like a sweet bag and I know that there are meeples inside and it feels like sweet time. So let's start with that one. That's probably the biggest bit, the bit I'm most excited about. Let's start here. So, oh my god, there's so many. So, I feel like a kid in a sweet shop. These are really cool. I genuinely feel like I've gone back to childhood with how excited I am. And if you saw our Everdell video, you'll also know, like, I like a good meeple. But these certainly are. We've got giraffe, we've got rhinoceros, we've got zebras, we've got crocodiles. We've got so much. You never normally see this many meeples. That's really exciting. What's also included are these little films. So I presume these will be character-based in terms of sort of player-based, sorry, as to who's doing what. But what a way to start. Nice. That's a really good setup. Okay, so next we need to know how we're going to film these guys and how we're going to get points for that. So let's take a little look at what else is in this box. I don't think it's going to live up to the sheer excitement of these, to be honest, because look at them! But let's work out how to play the game before I get too excited. So here we have some additional cards that look pretty tricky to get into because I'm rubbish with these plastic bits. Okay, so in this pack we have 3 different styles of card. The first have these backings with that beautiful giraffes on there, and then how we're going to score. So potentially you might get extra points for being in a straight line. You also have the ones that are backed like this, which is frankly adorable, with the narrator on the other side, or the sort of style that you play as. So you might have a researcher, for example, or you might have that narrator who looks just a little bit familiar. How lovely. Then we've got some tiles that look like we're mapping out where things go, and on the back of those you have beautiful creatures, and finally our little player token aid things so that we know what we're doing as we play. The 2 extra packs are much of the same. They contain more of the ways that you're going to score. So by having a certain scene set up in such a beautiful way to get that perfect shot and extra points, which, you know, at the end of the day is what we're after. So next up is our rules. They contain that beautiful artwork still, and to be honest, aren't too tricky. I do like one with a lot of explanations, and this one does that quite nicely. So we've got those scene cards I was talking about, gives us a nice overview, and at the back we also have advanced rules. So once you're ready to go, you can add variability by starting a game with a specialist card, which were the ones that I showed you. And as well at the back we have a solo mode that you can consider too. Now we've got a couple of little bits left in here that I'm really excited about. So our boards primarily as to how we're going to set these up. If I show you the first one, you will see this is where you're going to place your animals so that you can line up that shot best. And then this, which gives us a little bit more too. Lastly in the box we have some bits to punch out, and this is where we get excited because, much like Everdell, we're going to be building something, and in this case it is our rock formation. So this is where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to read the instructions because I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so I can confirm I did not read the instructions. I went with the if I fits, I sits rule and my knowledge of how to build the Evertree. But that's a pretty sturdy structure, which works quite nicely because we're going to be putting things on it and we don't want to lose them. Speaking of those things, a couple of those are, for example, the tiles. We have those within the boards that I started punching things out of, although we're just going to lose some as I hold them up because they're punched really well. we've got little achievements and such, and then different things that you can add on as well. Those are echoed in the rest of the tiles, so as we go through, we've got perhaps a couple of little bits that are different. Oh, there's a tiny little tree. Let's build a tree. There's a cute little tree. So there we can add to the scenery with a little bit extra tree as well. That's super cute. And those sort of extra tiles. So that one's got a lock on it, for example, and the others all sort of vary. So you can pick those up from the boards. But there's plenty there, lots of, and really like, although components will change, so I'm hesitant to ever say, this is a really nice component in a prototype, because there may be differences when you pick it up. And these are really nicely made, like they feel really tactile. This fits together really nicely. It's a really good start. Okay, so let's take a run through of this in action, and the first thing to possibly note is that yes, it's going to take up quite a bit of your table. It does add to the drama because it looks great, but just be aware you're going to need a fair bit of table space in order to do so. Now, there's a lot to find right at the top here, okay? So we're going to find that our meeples are all hidden up here. We've got our carnivorous predators, we've got large mammals, scavengers, migratory herbivores, but we've also got little locks that we place on these to dictate the number of players. So it's going to scale depending on how many players it is that you have. Now, we can't, of course, ignore the elephant in the room. See what I did there? Which is the giant tree at the back. Now, this meeple, which has stood alone because it is the only one of which there are not three, is our turn marker. So we go from 1, 2 to 3, 4, 5 and 6 as written on here. Now, what we also have is additional goals, and we can meet those by looking at these ones here. These are randomly assigned, so you'll have different ones per game, different ways to get additional things. So in this case, we have Rhinoholic and more. Now, in terms of your initial setup, it's going to look something like this. You will draw 8 of these cards, pick 2 and place them in your own area. This is how you're going to dictate where you are. You have 2 of those. One of those lives on the track, which I'll show you in a second, just to denote where you are. And you'll also get some 6 gold to use for your own purposes. This little bar at the top. And now you know what it is that you're going to be aiming for. Now, the tree that I was so excited about as a little extra, this one here, is merely the first player token or first player marker as to who's going to go next. So you'll pass that round as necessary. Now, the other meeple that we mentioned, so one represents ours and keeps in our zone, and then the other one will travel around the track based on points as we go through. Now, as for the map itself, you'll see that it also has different terrain options. So you may score different points depending on where and in which terrain it is that those animals are. For example, one of the cards that we pulled earlier tells us that we can get some points for having a zebra and a rhino in water. So that's something we're going to be aiming to achieve. Now, each turn you can perform a basic action. So, for example, to perform a basic action, you pay 1 coin. And place your player marker on an action space. So let's pop ours here, because why not? You can even pay more to do more things, but you can only do 2 things per action, so bear in mind. So there's plenty there we can do. So it might be, for example, that I know I've got that card where they need to be in the water, so I know we're going to grab a zebra, and we'll pop that into the water. They can be happy there. Now, there's only 1 animal per space. Do consider if you need them in certain places, you can't override where someone else has placed theirs, or if you've decided you've changed tact because you've completed that mission, it might be that you need to start moving them around. So perhaps after a couple of rounds, I've sorted this out. I'm going to have my rhino, he's also going to be in the water, and I'm going to make sure that they're in a straight line anyway, because some cards require a straight line scene. So I'm going to do that just because I can. So now I've completed that card, I'm going to pop it into my video gallery. So what that means is it's going to go under my little play bar. And I've gained additional points from that, so let's pop those on there, because I gained 4 points for having completed that. Now, whilst this is designed just to give you a brief overview of the sort of things that you can do or might be asked to be done, there's of course plenty more that we haven't spoken about. So things like there might be a great migration, and that means the characters have to move from where they are. That might ruin your shot completely. You might have been perfectly poising for something to happen on your action cards, and all of a sudden you can't do it because a migration has happened. There's also the matter of the tokens, which you can collect as you go through. Those you can then potentially exchange for even more points, because the whole game is about making sure that you have those prestige points, those victory points that are associated with having a really great nature documentary. So, for example, we have special effects, we have food, and we have coins that you're going to be using. Now, of course, there's even more to it, but you're going to have to pick up the game to find that out. So that has been Wild Serengeti. Thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed looking through all of this and I hope that you have too. If you have, drop us a like and a subscribe and let us know in the comments so I can talk about games a little bit longer. Of course, this is heading to Kickstarter, so make sure you check it out. The link will be in the description. And if you want more from us, head to tabletopgaming.co.uk. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.